Welcome to In Case You Wanted to Know, a podcast with the inimitable Jim Henderson. My name is John Purchase. Also with us in the room is Derek Showerman, and we are here with Jim today talking about community, sustainability, the environment, and I think today we're going to chat a little bit about community, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Our last episode, we talked about culture and how that's vastly different here, I think, than
company culture. Yeah.
Company culture. Yeah. And why it's different. And I think there's a natural progression looking back over the years as we became comfortable with who we were as a company and what our mission was with people, because ultimately people drive every business. They drive everything, right, Derek? I mean, you know what the keywords are. You're the digital guy. So I know when we first met, we talked about the things that are people are looking at when they're browsing, and community is one of them.
And when you think about business, it's strategy, people, process, and technology. And part of people is the community and the community around you. One of the things that drew me to William C. Huff coming from Salesforce was the fact that Jim was so involved in the local community, foster children, for example, giving time to the town to move sculptures around, getting involved in the Winter Wine Festival, which is huge down here in Naples. And again, Salesforce does this thing where they give 1% back, to the world, the community. But is it really a ton of money when you really think about it? Is it time? Is it energy? Mm-hmm. They got better with that and giving time back, but having an impact and having a true impact will make people stand notice. And Jim did a really good job in Naples of making people notice because he gave his time, his energy, Toys for Tots and so on and so forth. And I think it's important to call that out. I think businesses and people will get notoriety by giving of their time and being a prevalent member within a community.
We started in New Hampshire, getting involved with the New Hampshire Special Olympics. And it just went from there. And one of the things was we started engaging in community when our staff, our full-time staff, would approach the company and say, my mom or my sister or we're involved with whatever community projects that are out there. And I remember Special Olympics was kind of the first really big one we got involved with. One of our full-time guys' mom was the local director for the New Hampshire annual Special Olympics. And we got very involved with our staff. My son was working part-time and daughter was in high school or whatever. And we started setting up this mini golf tournament annually with them. And word got out, and that became like the biggest hit every year at this Special Olympics at the University of New Hampshire. And then our staff would go and be with these Special Olympians as they went through this 9-hole mini golf course, and they would just get in a line. As soon as they did the 9 holes, they get back in line and do it again. But I think for us, the key thing was to not say, hey, we're given to a cause because everyone else is doing that cause, but it was more directed to specific things in our own culture, our staff, and so it was relevant, and we've maintained that. If something, as Derek mentioned, foster children, that speaks very dearly to myself. And one day, our PR person, Sue Hoff, mentioned this group called Friends of Foster Children, and the rest is history. We got involved with that because of my background. And in a lot of these community events, I remember we got involved with, and John, you remember this.
I sure do.
You're talking the Gulf Shore Playhouse, getting involved with that. And I know John wrote a score for the early days of Gulf Shore Playhouse. And here we are 20-something years later, and now they've got this really amazing theater. And to know we were part of the beginning of something big is really cool. And we still support it.
Yeah. In our last episode, we talked about our culture here at William C. Huff. And the fact that staff members don't need to be concerned, provided that they're doing their jobs, they don't need to be concerned about where their next paycheck's coming from, that if they support the company will support them. And I think one of the additional benefits of doing that with a staff is that it allows them, since they know they have that sense of security, it allows them to want to get involved in community more and be a little more giving of their free time. And we've seen that. I've been here for 20 years, and I have seen that with our staff from the very beginning. As Jim said it, in New Hampshire, the staff up there was always willing to give of their time and resources to get involved in the community. And it's been a lovely thing to see that here, and to watch our guys get involved in these projects and not ask if they get to clock in to help is really fantastic. And it's been really enjoyable to see how the culture in our little world here at William C. Huff can expand outward into the Naples and Southwest Florida community, as well as the New Hampshire and New England communities.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Derek.
What's interesting about that too is when you look at the digital footprint, when you get involved in the community, you give back to the community, there's a sense of authenticity with it. And with authenticity comes links, backlinks, a new exposure in the digital world. People will share it. I mean, our best social media posts are usually about us doing something in the community, not necessarily us showing the good work that we do. And it's hugely important. I think a lot of businesses, they don't really realize that participating in the community is in fact being authentic. It's not just giving money and signing a check.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and again, because of the way we structure things, a lot of our money resources goes to our staff. And so a lot of times when communities are needing some help, it's what we can do. And as a company and as individuals within the company, what can we do? Like John spending countless hours writing a score for Gulf Shore Playhouse, because that would help them when they were, on a very tight budget. They were just starting, and so that fit the need. And then now, 20 years later, we still move their sets around from their production facility to their new facility where they do their plays now. That just opened in this month, actually. But we're still doing that moving back and forth of the sets, and the guys look forward to doing that. And I think, again, we're talking about community being a part of the culture of the company. It's genuine, it's natural, it's something that just is part of what we do. And when we say, in case you wanted to know, essentially what we're going to be talking about, what we're talking about now is these are things that people maybe didn't know about our company, because you're not going to see it in a big ad, 5% of everything you do is going to go to Habitat for Humanity. That's we're not marketing ourselves that way. You'll see it on our website. You'll see these things, but this isn't a campaign. It's who we are, kind of thing. And I think at one point, John, I counted 20 between New Hampshire and here, around 26, 27 community groups that we were actively involved with. We've kind of pulled off a little bit because of, I'm a little older and we're not quite as energetic, but we still have a number. I mean, I'm sure we're in the 20 range now but it's just natural. It just happens. We do it every year and day in and day out for these organizations. But that's what makes a community healthy, right? And we talk about that first and foremost. You have to be healthy with your work, secure. Then as we feel that, then we can push that out into the community. And now our community is helpful. I grew up in foster homes, and it's a government subsidized program. It doesn't work. It's government. But this group that we work with, Friends of Foster Children, does what government can't do. It takes local people and businesses like ours, and we get actively involved with changing the course of these kids' lives, where the government money and everything is good, but it doesn't solve the problem. The real success comes from an intimate, close, one-on-one community where businesses and people within the business support those needs that are there. And, one of the gals from Friends of Foster, she moved to another group that does, it's called Better Together. And it helps children to not get into the system by advocating for these parents that have needs, single parents. They just need some help for a while to keep the custody of these children that are at very high risk. And so we're expanding what we started and looking and growing within these organizations as people move into other services related. And so now we have an even bigger outreach and a bigger footprint that we can affect through what we do individually and as a company with these organizations, these local communities. And we are making a difference.
Hopefully our listeners are either a business or just somebody that's looking to have an impact, and they're taking the words of our fearless leader to heart. Giving authentically and being involved in your community authentically is going to reap the benefit. It's going to come back. It's kind of like karma. If we're going to talk karma, it's going to come back to you.
Well, again, I think that there's a natural progression. As a company, when we were young, it was all about the staff and I never use the word employee, by the way. I've always maintained staff is more, I think, a commitment. Employee is, I don't know. Yeah, so I've always, just so you know,
an
I always
employee,
use that term.
Yeah, an employee will work with you for a short time and then move on to the next thing, whereas a staff member is a part of the organization.
And we've never had a customer ever. We have clients for life, and we literally have clients now 37 years later, the same clients. And so what's in a word is everything. And these are the things that hopefully you wanted to know but didn't know about how we run things and what we're about. But my outlook on it, because it is, I think, a little bit different and unique, and that's why we attract good people like John and Derek and many, many others that come and they don't want to leave because they know the difference. They can feel it and see it. And we're just getting started, of course. With social media, we can take what we're talking about and move it, hopefully swing that pendulum a little bit further to have a bigger impact. And there's lots more to talk about. I mean, that's the idea, right? We've got environmental things we want to talk about, but thanks.
So that'll be the next one.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up the community, John. Yeah. That's it's near and dear to us, and it is a big part of who we are as a business.
Well, and with that, we appreciate if you've made it this far. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and we hope that you will subscribe to this little foray into podcasting that the three of us have going on. And we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Derek.